Past the shallows. Storytellers are able to remind us of the preciousness and brutalness of our human needs and values. Pavel Parrot capitalizes on a variety of human conditions to create a form of relationship with the reader. Storytellers are able to achieve this by utilizing past human experiences such as relationship and change to fade the reality of the story. Past the Shallows reminds us of the duality and fragility of relationships throughout the novel. Pavel capitalizes on the use of relationships to create a connection between the reader and the characters. Throughout the novel, there are many types of relationships, such as a bond between a mother, son, and brotherhood, and relationships with strangers. These are all relationships that the reader is able to connect to. Relationships are explored through the duality and paradoxical nature of specific bonds. In specific, brotherhood. Brotherhood is a distinct, unbreakable bond. Brotherhood and relationships are strengthened through the hardship and struggle, often working together as they strive to support each other, but are limited in their capacity to fulfill each other's needs. Harry put his hand back in his pocket and felt for the sock that held his leftover money. He pulled it out. "You should take this," he said. "You might need it." Miles shook his head. "You keep it," he said, and tried to smile. This quote, taken from Past the Shallows, beautifully depicts the extent of their capacity to fulfill each other's needs. Pavel Parrot capitalizes on the use of personification and metaphors to create human experiences, intertwining with the ocean, identifying the ocean as a godlike figure whom is always there and always will be. She describes the ocean as if it were alive and breathing. Water that was always there, always everywhere. Pavel does an excellent job of creating this idea around a metaphor, which explains how the water/ocean is parallel to relationships and human experiences. She utilizes the ocean to depict different relationships and human experiences. Rips and large ocean waves to describe the father's burst of aggression and hatred. The untrusting nature that the boys hold towards their father is the same towards the ocean, and Miles' emptiness, identified in the text using the ocean's depth. Miles knew the water. He could feel it, and he knew not to trust it. This story identifies the fragility and preciousness of human experiences as Parrot explores a brotherhood and relationships, capitalizing on the use of the ocean as a metaphor for these relationships. Change is inevitable. Part of any human experience, change in thoughts, feelings, surroundings, and changing times. Each of these dictate the viewpoint and morals of an individual. Characters rely on their ability to adapt to change, which ultimately dictates the person they become. Past the Shallows by Pavel displays changing times within a shifting town. Circumstantial change are thrusted upon each character, such as the death of the mother in the current family, which causes a vast change in everything. Out past the shallows, past the sandy bottoms, past the darkness, water black and cold, roaring, rolling out an invisible path, a new line for them to follow. This quote identifies how Joe displays a changing character, developing from a selfish attitude towards his siblings to a maturing father figure towards his younger brother. This change was an effect of Harry's death, opening a new chapter in Joe's life, shifting his attitude. Parrot utilizes pathetic fallacy through the novel. This identifies how the weather contradicts human emotion. This is seen throughout the novel whenever the father makes an appearance. His violent outbursts are undeniably mirrored within the ocean. As the surge kicks up, whenever the father's temper ignites, thus resulting in Harry's fear of the ocean, as he is well accustomed to being the subject of his father's wrath. This further emphasizes the use of pathetic fallacy, as it is indicative of the cycle of the abuse that Harry and Miles experience at the hands of their father, as they submerged in a threatening and merciless current. Then they heard Dad yelling from inside, yelling at them, at everyone, yelling at no one, and Miles could hear the words. They came through the brown walls, through the air, and cracked open the night. "I never wanted you." This quote links back to the father's rage and temper, which is paired with a pathetic fallacy. Change reminds us of the preciousness and fragility of our human needs and values. Storytellers are able to remind us of the preciousness and brutalness of our human needs and values. Pavel Parrot capitalizes on a variety of human conditions to create a form of relationship with the reader. It is clear how Pavel strives to display the fragility of our human needs and values throughout the novel, capitalizing on metaphors and techniques to connect with the reader. Pavel managed to pair human relationships and emotions to weather and ocean. She identifies change through relationship and experiences and displayed how brotherhood bonds are strengthened through hardship and struggle. Fury. Movies are able to depict the preciousness and fragility of our human needs and values by displaying a range of techniques, sounds, and camera angles. The film Fury portrays a platoon of US tanks fighting in Nazi Germany during the final weeks of the European theatre of World War II. Fury capitalizes on the setting of a dark and grim environment and the use of lighting and sounds to capture the audience almost as if they were in the tank. Fury also does an excellent job in capturing the soldiers' emotions throughout the scene, such as when Norman, a young recruit to the platoon, witnesses the taking of the life, showing pain and dread led by Norman to vomit in pure disgust. This is a clear example of how Fury reminds us of the fragility of our human needs and values. The utilisation of sound throughout the movie is a crucial part of dragging the audience into the film, switching from the low-tone, eerie sounds whilst crossing fields and silence, creating a sense of anxiety and unknown. Fury also does an excellent job in replicating the effect that loud, ear-shattering bombshells would have to an individual. This is especially crucial as it identifies the character's emotions. The lighting throughout the whole film was eerie and grim, replicating the exact environment on the battlefield. Not only did the characters talk about their surroundings as a hellhole, the film does a great job of capturing the sheer extent of the massacre of World War II. The lighting is a crucial part of any film in setting the mood. Darkness would often be paired with silence and sneaking behind enemy lines, while scenes with high brightness were paired with exploding bombs, gunfire, and action. High brightness were paired with exploding bombs, gunfire, and action. The soldiers' emotions are excellently portrayed throughout the film. Their emotions fed into the idea of human fragility, as throughout the film they displayed the want and need to stay alive, and the human rejection and disgust to take another individual's life. The soldiers showed post-traumatic stress, the lack of sleep, and the idea of constant death always being on their mind. Characters also show how the war and watching all these terrible things change who they are directly linking to our humans' needs and values. Fury does a tremendous job in portraying an exact replica of what a World War II tank and the soldiers navigating the battlefield would have endured, utilising sound, lighting and emotion to capture the fragility of our human needs and values.